Thanks for having me. Great to see everybody. So I work for AJ Bell. AJ Bell, we're an investment platform based here in Manchester. So there's two very distinct parts of the business, advised and D2C. Not very exciting. We look after pensions and ISAs and investments and all those sorts of things. I'm head of UX experience. I make sure stuff like this doesn't happen. That is my primary goal at the company. And today I'm going to talk about scaling our impact and what we're doing. Have we got any designers in tonight, or are we all? Brilliant. Good stuff. Okay. I've been told I've got 15 minutes, so don't worry, we're not going to go all the way back far away. We are going to go 6.5 years ago, just down the road in Salford, and that's when I joined AJ Bell. So I've been a designer all my life, 27 years. I've been in UX for about 16 years. And yeah, I joined AJ Bell. I was the first UX designer in the building. Within a couple of weeks, I told our MD that his platform looked like a Frankenstein's monster of bolt-ons. And pretty much we were in the dark ages, so there was literally no UX design, there was no resource for design, and nearly 7 years later, I like to think we are about here. I'd swap out project for product, I guess, and the goal now, if I don't fall into the Christmas tree, is to move that up into infused UX design. So we're going to talk about scaling our impact on everything that we've done. That's come out a funky colour.
My fault.
I am a firm believer in the 3 jobs of design. The biggest misconception of what designers do is that we make things look good. And for all those people who believe that, that's when we have a chat and I slap you around I put my arm around your shoulder and I talk about actually the 3 jobs of design, what I believe are to integrate, to transform and to evolve. And I give my team, empower my team to go out there and do what they want using different skills, different experiences, different things out of their toolkit and all the different facets of UX. But ultimately, they must come back to one of these things. This is our backbone, if you wish. This is our foundation. And if we're going to scale things, if we're going to scale our impact, if we are going to become more efficient at things, if we're going to become more productive at the way that we do stuff, we've got to have a foundation. This is my foundation. So everyone's involved in doing that, and some of my guys go off and do their own blueprints of these things and how they're going to achieve these things. Absolutely love it. I have gone from just me, as I said, on my own, to 14 people across advised, D2C and Ops and Regs, 3 very distinct parts of the business. It blows my mind as well that these 3 parts of the business operate in different ways, even though we're part of the same company. Crazy. So how have we gone about sort of growing that team, scaling our resource, but being productive, and what that goal that I set at the beginning about now scaling our impact. So I grabbed a slide from a talk that I did a couple of years ago. There's a couple of people here who might remember this slide. Aaron, oh, you were there. I did a talk about think big, go small. I'm a big believer in that. Big ideas, huge ideas. I'm a firm believer in really going for it. And the way you get there is literally one step at a time, one small change. It sounds boring, but it's so effective. You've got to have patience, you've got to have people to buy into it. One small change, repeat. One small change, repeat. And almost the big thing takes care of itself. So our team has grown. We have got different personalities, we've got different skill sets, we've got different ideas. I need to align that across the business and what we're doing. I need to align it to the 3 jobs that we're doing, and I want to make us more productive. Unfortunately, Spotify come along and gave us a great template to work from. You can do a search, Spotify's ways of working. Caveat, you can cross out design if you want. This works for everyone. I've done this with teams. I've done it with my own design team. I've done it with a team of BAs. I've done it with a larger product team that included product, BA, dev, test, you name it, you can get people working at this. So we're going to talk a little bit about productivity and some of the stuff that we've done. if you do search it, it is Spotify's ways of working. It is a load of Figma files. So for the designers in the room, you go, yay. You're going to have to seek out a designer if you don't know Figma. There are 4 parts to this blueprint and workshop. The first part is to define productivity, understand the workflow, pretty much a service design template. We're going to build the blueprint and then gather feedback and iterate. It's really, really cool. I am going to whiz through some of the parts. I did have comments on this while I've got my book. I did have comments on here, but I've run this quite a few times. And what I didn't want to do was go around about the 100 and odd people asking everyone for permission to put their ideas up on my slide. So I've purposely kept it blank and I've got them in my book here. The first part, we asked, what is productivity? And it gives us a definition. The state or quality of being productive. Productivity is commonly defined as a ratio between the output volume and the volume of inputs. And what I've observed in the sessions and workshops that we've done is that everyone sits there and goes, and then spend 10 minutes literally disagreeing with the comments, right? Actually, some of the things that I've got on here, people sort of talk about, actually when you start thinking about it, there's no context to that, right? More output doesn't mean more productivity. Doing less to deliver is more appealing. Volume and quality of the right outputs is important. So all of a sudden you start sort of padding this out a little bit, right? And then the next part is we ask, when does peak productivity happen? This is a great question. You can sort of say, how is it measured? How did you achieve it? You can talk about moods, you can talk about feelings. Think about when you are at your most productive. When was it? Think about it. Like really take yourself back and think about when was I flying through my work and feeling really good. I've got some comments here from people about the ownership of work, about limited dependencies that enabled me to do stuff when I'm not bogged down by meetings, that the requirements were super clear and there was no scope creep, that I had limited distractions. And then some people talked about moods, about whether it was that sink or swim kind of feeling. So some really interesting things come from this. And then what we do is we say, okay, knowing all that, how are we going to define productivity at AJBAT or wherever it may be that you're trying to do this? And this is really interesting because you've got everyone in a good place, right? You've been sort of discussing it, people are feeling good about it. We've just talked about peak productivity. Now let's really think about yourself. What does productivity mean for you? I've picked 2 definitions out that I really love, come from completely different people. One of them was productivity is using your time, energy and attention effectively to achieve clearly defined goals. I really like that. And the other one I really like is, someone said productivity is simply doing the right thing for the right reasons at the right time. I love that as well. And that's really cool. And when we've done that, we then sort of propose the question of, well, okay, if that's what we believe, how are we going to measure it? And I'll come back to metrics in a minute because I think it's really important. Metrics are super important. Well, now we've empowered everyone and they've literally defined what productivity means to them and we've voted on it. That's another important thing. You'll see some of the instructions down here. We can vote and really get sort of involved in stuff. Some of the things that people have said about measurement, some quite dev-led stuff here about lead times and cycle times, about throughput, about code quality, and that if we've got really good code quality, we have less bugs, therefore we're more productive. There are things like times reduced, team morale. That could be some way in which we look at how we measure productivity. Now, apologies that this is a little bit blurry, but I'll go through it. Spotify, what's the name, give you this template to follow. It's understand, think, build, ship, tweak, right? That's their product workflow. You can substitute them for whatever you wish, whatever works for your business. We've come up with our own, I think there's 4 sections in which we've got. And this is a service design template, right? That line there with the dot on it, we are going to plot productivity as we have just defined in the previous thing, and we're going to go these vertical lines are things like what was the task, what time did it take, what people were involved, what tools did you use, what were the pain points, what were the opportunities. So we're going to plot the tasks and we're going to put everything down and then we're going to map it all the way along in a big workshop, and what happens is you get something like this. Where we start to bring out the pain points and we see where productivity starts to dip. And like you can see, understand actually quite a short one, think it, quite a long one, build it, quite big, lots of tasks going on here. And you plot this out. It takes a bit of time, but it's really worthwhile. I'll give you an example of one of our dips. It's really simple, but it's costing us so much time, costing us productivity, and it was this. It was around copy changes. And what it was so I've got my team who were producing prototypes in Figma, and we're passing them off to the development teams. The development team were in refinement, and they're going off, right, they're starting to build the prototype. Great. Meanwhile, the prototype's gone to the copy guy. The copy guy's now writing the copy. The copy will come back to us, and we will update the prototype, which goes to the dev guy. And then product come along halfway through that and go, whoa, 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 that copy's not right. And we go around again in this big circle. We were finding that copy changes were taking 2 to 3 weeks to filter through. That's crazy. 2 or 3 paragraphs taking 2 to 3 weeks in a massive loop. Absolutely bonkers. So it looks as if this, like, is this worth the time in doing? Absolutely worth the time in doing. That's just one example of where our productivity is failing us, where we can get better at stuff. Wanted to go back to metrics because you cannot improve what you don't measure, and if we're talking about productivity and efficiency and things like that, it's important with metrics. If I'm scaling, our goal this year is to scale our impact as a team. The only way I am going to achieve that is by having the right metrics in place to measure that against. Sometimes that can be really difficult to do, especially in what we do in design. So a lot of stuff that we do is about feeling and things, and I'm often hit around the head by our C-suiters who talk about the things like profits and waste and all those things. And I go, yeah, but it makes me feel good. So I've got to change my thoughts around that. I've got to learn that actually, in order to scale our impact and to get that buy-in from those people, that they need to understand what it is that we're doing. So one that we're going to jump on, again, a little example for you. Our CTO is starting an initiative around incoming calls to our customer service teams. We must have around 800 odd people who work in operations and customer service at AJ Bell. We are, I'm sure if any AJ Bell people were here, they'd be delighted for me to say that we are something like 4.8, 4.9 on Trustpilot reviews. We're absolutely flying. All calls are answered within 3 to 4 rings. Absolutely brilliant. However, we get thousands of calls that we shouldn't get. We get calls about people who are frustrated that they can't log in. We get calls about people who can't find something on the website. We can do something about that. So if the metric that we adhere ourselves to is we're going to reduce the number of calls coming into the building, all of a sudden our C-suiters can think, right, you're saving money, you're saving time, you're becoming more efficient. All of a sudden then we can start scaling our impact on things like that. So those ideas around metrics and everything, and tying something to a metric that goes all the way to the top, yeah, can't underestimate that. I'm going to change tact a little bit because it's stopping you from pizzas and beer. Take some ideas on that workshop way. It works really, really well. Look it up online. Honestly, it has been a bit of a revelation in terms of doing it with different people and just some of the stuff that we get back. Really, really great. We talk about things like efficiencies and stuff like that, but actually we've all got different ideas of what that can be, and that workshop actually starts to align stuff. As a manager of people, actually if I can make my team more efficient and more productive, that in itself will help us scale our impact. But as I sort of said earlier, that idea of think big, go small, if I think what can I do to my team big thing. Actually, that becomes quite difficult to sort of get a grip on. What I need to do is focus on the individuals in my team, the 14 people that make up my team, each and every one of them as an individual. I came across this a couple of years ago. I don't know whether anyone's heard of it. This is Ikigai. A few nods in the audience. Like your life's worth. I actually challenged my guys, every single member of my team. It became part of their objective to find their own Ikigai. If you don't know what Ikigai is, it is your reason for being. You ask yourself 4 questions, and you must ask them in this order. And the more reading and stuff that I did about this, all the Japanese are laughing at us, because we, predominantly in the Western world, we go, how much can we get paid? And then we wonder why everyone's unhappy at work. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what can you be paid for? And if you look at those 4 things, somewhere in that becomes your reason for being, your Ikigai, your personal thing. And I put it out to all my team, because happy designers make great designers. In fact, happy people just make more productive people, right? Take the word designer out of it. I myself, I said, 27 years in design. Anyone speaking to me, I'm really passionate about it. I just tell you, I love design, love it. And then when I went through this, I realised, actually, I love something more, and it was a bit of a revelation to me. What I love more than designing myself is watching my team succeed at design. And once that revelation came into my head, then I went, well, actually, what am I good at? Actually, I'm good at teaching, perhaps. I'm good at influencing. I'm good at... So all of a sudden, it set me off down just a different path. Each and every single one of my team has been charged, but like encouraged to do this for themselves, with the attitude that if they come back and said, I'm quitting because my Ikigai is a surfer at Bondi Beach, they would go with my blessing, because they have found out what their life worth is, and I've done something right. Even as their manager that they're leaving, they've found something out about them. But ultimately, they will become passionate about what they do, and that in turn, because what it can feel like, taking them small little steps that I focus on and going back to those little jobs that we do, and I keep quite a tight rein on that. We don't let anyone, what we don't want is for us to make huge leaps, because we can't sustain those things. It needs to be step by step. And sometimes people think that they can just be going around in circles, but actually what's happening is this. They are growing all the time. We need to get that across. We do that in our one-to-ones and reviews and things like that. And then as a manager, what I've got is 14 people growing, being more productive, helping us scale our impact on what we do. So hopefully a couple of different ways, a useful workshop, hopefully from Spotify, that you can all take away as a sort of framework and look at that. And then hopefully something for you to think about yourself as well, that personal goal, about your own Ikigai and what that means for you. Thank you very much.